Batman v Superman then. Right now, I'm going to talk at brief about it now. I saw it last week and have been muzzled by the Warner Brothers draconian security until now. But here's the thing. I was prepared for this movie to be, generously speaking, a steaming pile of shit. I was not a fan of Man of Steel. I was not a fan of the sort of license that Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan took with the Superman character. I was not a fan of the blatant 9/11 allegories. I was not a fan of the lack of daylight in a movie about the brightest superhero on the planet. There are pieces of it that I like. There's always pieces of anything that you like. I mean, if you can't find a thing to like in a thing, then you're not trying hard enough. But overall, the tone of Man of Steel was kind of my problem with it. That tone still exists in BvS. If it's even possible to get a little bit darker, it got a little bit darker because there's Batman in it. We were all afraid and concerned when Ben Affleck got cast as Batman. Kevin wasn't. Kevin knew that guy wanted to be Batman since he was 12. Everybody else was like, Affleck, Batfleck. I don't need no Batfleck. He's kind of the best part of Batman v Superman. His Bruce Wayne is really strong. His Batman is the comic book Batman you've kind of always wanted and never gotten before. And yet Chris Nolan did a great job with Dark Knight and Batman Begins, less so with Dark Knight Rises. But we don't have to talk too much about that. We don't have to curse that dude when we can curse. No, we're not going to curse anybody. We're going to be relatively nice. But yeah, it is the Zack Snyder show. And as with most Zack Snyder shows, it looks fantastic. When your heroes actually get to punching each other, it's actually a lot of fun. It is kind of it is the fight you've always wanted to see. It's the fight you've seen in comic books before, where Bruce Wayne uses his brains to defeat the brawn of Superman. And spoiler, nobody dies. Or do they? Probably not. But yeah, like it takes too long to get going. The movie's too long. It's 2.5 hours, and you don't need a half hour of that 2.5 hours. Nobody needs to see the Bruce Wayne Batman origin story ever again. We know the Waynes were gunned down in Crime Alley. We know. No. The same way we get like, hey, did Jesus die on a cross? We don't need that story anymore. We don't need the Waynes dying anymore. We know what happened. Everybody knows what happened. Stop it. Yeah. Lex Luthor doesn't make any sense. His plan doesn't hold water. I don't know what he wants. Does he want to be the head of the government? Does he want to kill Superman for some reason because he just doesn't trust aliens? All right, I get it. Does he not want Batman to be alive? I don't understand why. And making Doom die. Listen, if you can explain to me what Lex Luthor was trying to do at the end of that movie, then by all means, hit me up on Twitter and tell me. Explain to me how what he does gets him anything that he claims to want. Because if your villain doesn't want a thing and doesn't have a plan to get a thing, and if that plan is not interrupted by bad guys, then that villain's plan does not hold water. So fuck that shit. Wonder Woman, though, is awesome. Gal Gadot, who had gotten a lot of flack for being Gal Gadot for some reason, because apparently people don't think that she can hold her own. There's a lot of thin shaming going on the internet. She's not big enough to be my Wonder Woman. She's not blah, blah, blah. And I will, mea culpa, I will say that I took a tiny part in that because I've always felt that my penis should be afraid of Wonder Woman. She should be that much woman so that it's like, oh, wow, that's a thing. No, not a chance in the world. She's fantastic in this movie. She is an incredible surprise. And maybe surprise is the wrong word. I shouldn't have been surprised. I should have just been way more open-minded than I was, but I'm now a believer. The 20 minutes or so that she's in this movie is among the best 20 minutes in this movie. And she gives this smile, you'll see it when you see it, that just made me so fucking happy. I just sat there just, Hercules, Wonder Woman. This movie will make $1 billion. It goes without saying. Like, good, bad, and different, it was always going to make $1 billion. It would have to have been literally a blank screen for it not to do as well as it's going to do at the box office. But, my fear is that now there has to be a Flash movie that looks like this. There has to be a Cyborg movie that looks like this. There has to be an Aquaman movie. And I don't even want an Aquaman movie, but it's going to look like this. And I know it's going to look like this because, spoiler, not spoiler, they introduce all of those characters in this movie in the most ham-fisted way possible. There is no grace in the way this movie tells a story. There's no deftness with which it tries to impart its themes. But for all of that, I liked it more than I thought I would. For all of that, there was parts of that movie where I'm just like, you know what? Good on you, guys. Like, you delivered unto me what I think, a Batman versus Superman fight should look like, even though there's no godly reason why they should actually be fighting. Because, come on, guys. These are apparently like a brilliant billionaire who invents a bunch of shit and a reporter who knows some stuff about the world who should be able to have a conversation to resolve their differences that doesn't have to result in punching each other in the face a lot. But, there's a V in the middle of that title, so apparently there needs to be a V in that movie. So yeah, listen, that's it. Kevin and I will go on at length about it on stage, which will then be podcasted for your oral pleasure. But for now, that's it. Quick take. I'm in. I'm out. Batman. I got to go do a job. Listen, guys, there's a city that needs saving, and it's not going to save itself. So I got to go. But listen, I've been Mark Bernardin. This has been a micro episode of Batman with Fat Man on Batman and Fat Man. It's Fat Man v. Batman. What? We did a thing! All right, so yes, we will see you soon. Same fat time, same fat channel. Mark Bernardin, at Mark Bernardin on Twitter. www.youtube.com/Kevin Smith. Peace!
Look at all this space I got to myself. It's just me, because I'm going to give you my review of a movie I've been waiting for forever, but at least for the 2 years they've been making it, man. A movie I've been hyping and sucking a dick of. Did it pan out? Is it going to work out? Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, man, all over my face, neck, and chest. Seen it twice. Now I'm going to tell you what I think. Next up on Fat Man on Batman. Welcome to Fat Man on Batman. I'm Kevin Smith. I am here by myself today, man, and I'm going to, you can widen up a little bit because now it looks like I'm all in the fucking monitor and stuff. Just a touch, just a skosh. We're working. It's me and Codes today. Skeleton crew. Don't worry, we're going to get there. Yeah, it feels about right. Felt like I was in the TV. Anyway, I'm directing while we're shooting the show. What a horrible first impression this will be for some people, man. Today, folks, welcome to Fat Man on Batman. I'm Kevin Smith. Today, I'm going to get to talk about Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. Now, right off the bat, spoilers, kids. Going to be lots and lots of spoilers. I'm spoiling the shit out of shit. So if you have not seen the movie yet, and what the fuck is wrong with you? Don't listen to reviews. Make up your own damn mind and stuff like that. Like, pay your goddamn 2 bits. It's your American duty to see this movie, to see every comic book movie ever made, man. Yes, even Fantastic Four and stuff like that. So if you haven't seen it yet, shame on you. And what are you, one of 2 people that didn't, make movie made almost $450 million worldwide, almost $500 million on opening day. It opened in the States, it opened in China, it opened a lot of places, did huge business and stuff, got some just bent over for the reviews, man. And I know how that feels. They had a total Yoga Hosers type review. I think they dipped to 29. It's only 3 percentage points above Yoga Hosers, man. So, I mean, not for nothing. I'm not criticizing or nothing or dropping the mic, but we did spend substantially less to get mostly the same reaction. However, I'll never fucking see the box office of this picture. This picture's gonna make $1 billion, man. So there's a lot of talk about whether good or bad means anything online. And good or bad subjective, kids. And appreciating Batman v Superman is very subjective. I'm gonna tell you the story of how I felt about it first and second viewing, man. And again, big spoilers. In fact, it's going to be spoiled. I'm going to say some shit. I'm going to tell you why they started fighting. Well, we all know that from the trailer, but I'm going to tell you why they stopped. So if you don't know that reason, and trust me, you don't want to, don't watch this until you've seen it, then come back and watch it and stuff. Meantime, while we wait for you to figure that out, I'm going to point out that this Thursday, Fat Man on Batman Live happening in Detroit at the Fillmore. The Fillmore, that's right, son, rolling like a rock star. Part of the Freak Festival. Come help me and Mark start. This is our nascent journey into live Fat Man on Batmandom. This is going to be crazy. It's going to be like doing this show, but in front of people and stuff, and with Mark, not this exact show, but the one I normally do with Mark. Am I baked? Of course. That's not the point, man. The point is we're getting the review. Before we get there, go to csmod.com for tickets if you're in the Detroit area, anywhere near Michigan. Come out and see me and Mark on Thursday night doing Fat Man on Batman live, son. Okay, review time. The commercial's out of the way, folks. Here comes the review. Ready? I like this movie. In spite of itself. This movie tried desperately hard to make me not like it in some places. But overall, I've now seen it 1 3/4 time. 1 3/4 time. I'll explain by the end what that exactly means and stuff. So I can give you a pretty great overview of this picture. There's some notes there that I'm going to take. Washington Post, there's an article today. It's not a very flattering article, but credit where credit's due. Alyssa Rosenberg, like, she took notes. It's the article is called Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice Transcribed. So when critics or people who write for the press have to see the movie, they take notes during it. So I'm going to work off her notes just because she, not for what she said, but just beat for beat, she pretty much got the movie. She not got it, understood it, or got it. Like, I loved it. I don't think she's a fan, and I'm not saying she didn't get it. Like, if you didn't get it, or if you don't like the movie, you don't like the movie. It's that. It's not like it's beyond you or anything like that. But it's a pretty good model of the whole fucking movie laid out and stuff. So here we go, man. She starts off with, and I'm not going to keep reading you what she did, but right off the top, let's talk about opening credit sequence to Batman v Superman. You know, it begins once again with the murder of Thomas and Martha. Name check Martha Wayne. This time around, done very slow-mo, while juxtaposed with the funeral of his parents. We all know what happens to his parents. Again, spoilers if you don't. His parents get shot. This time while coming out of Excalibur, man, which is a movie I went to see in a theater too. So that could have been me and my parents. Right then and there, I'm watching the movie and go, this could have been me. I could have been Batman. And I realized what a failure I was in life. So as they're coming out, very important thing happens in this movie that right away makes me go, oh, I'm going to love this, even if I don't love it as much as I thought I would love it. Bill Finger gets a credit, folks. After all this time, don't just say Batman created by Bob Kane. It's Batman created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger. And it'd be better if it was and, but I ain't bitching, man. With is good enough. So seeing Bill Finger's name up there, getting fingered at the top of this movie was hot, son. That put me off right away to the good start, man. It was fantastic getting fingered. I said it twice. Right at the head of the movie. I said head too. Right after that, we get to let's see, what else happened in the credits? Oh, you know, Thomas Wayne says Martha as he's dying, and both him and his wife get shot, and the boy's left by himself. And as Thomas died, the variation we get in this version is Thomas whispered, Martha, says her name, which is touching in and of itself. Like, I remember watching the opening credits going, is it necessary for us to watch the Batman story again? In terms of his parents getting killed yet again? At least they're taking care of it in the opening credits and stuff. But, you know, it's essential for what they plan to do in the third act. I would argue it's not essential. I would argue seeing his mom's name on the grave is perfectly fine, because that's the only reason to redo that death sequence we all know so well. We probably know better as an audience the death of Batman's parents than the deaths of loved ones that we have. You know, it's just like one of those things, you know, like George Washington chopped down a cherry tree. Batman's parents are shot right in front of him in Crime Alley, and he grows up to be the world's greatest detective and the great vigilante. We can say it by heart. My mom knows that as much. So you don't necessarily need to open this movie with that sequence unless you're using it to set up a piece of the puzzle that we'll need later on. For a lot of people out there, maybe a lot of people don't know that Bruce Wayne's mom's name was Martha. And, you know, you could have accomplished it with just a grave shot. At one point, Bruce goes to a mausoleum and sees his parents' graves, and, you know, he could have pumped right in on Martha, Martha, Martha. But instead, they chose to do it up front. Because of that, we get this weird shot where, first time in the mythology, Bruce falls down the well, and then he's lifted up by a circle of bats. And at this point in the movie, I was like, oh no, please, no, this ain't right. And thankfully, Ben said out loud as the voiceover, you know, in my dream. And so luckily, it was a dream. First of many dream sequences that this movie will have to offer. But let's stop right then and there and talk about the Batman himself. As I've been saying since long before this movie was shot, from the moment they said this dude's name, Affleck is the Batman. I think he did a wonderful job. This is the most cinematic looking Batman we've ever had. Moves like the Batman we all know from the comics and the video games. The voice is badass. Ben carries the part well. I wish they'd given him more to do, but with what they gave him to do, he's the most electric thing in the movie, man. There's a lot of electricity in the movie at one point in the third act, but Affleck crushes as Batman. And that was the thing everyone was most worried about way back at the beginning. They're like, Batfleck, I told you. I mean, I hate to be that guy, but fuck you. I told you he'd be good, and he was wonderful. That swirling bat elevator, though, with the kid, that was a close one. Thank God they put that into like, it was just a dream. Because right then and there, it would have been like, oh heavens, no. First of many pieces of messianic imagery that we see all throughout Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, which almost felt like Batman v Superman, Dawn of the Catechism, because there's a lot of, Judeo-Christian references. God plays a big part, man. Like when the building's coming down, the guy that Bruce Wayne was calling, he starts going like, Heavenly Father, pray for it, take mercy on my soul. Like real serious kind of shit. So yeah, this exists in a God world because boy, they say the word God a lot in this movie. Anyway, we do this whole opening sequence. By the time we get to the credits, they do this awesome thing where it says like Metropolis 18 months ago, the world meets the Superman, or so the world's first encounter with the Superman. And it's, as you all know from the trailers, it's a rollover from the end of Man of Steel, man, but it's powerful because it's from the ground and it's Bruce Wayne's perspective. This is the shot we've seen from the trailer of a man running into the cloud. If that ain't heroism, I don't know what is. And it was really impressive in the trailer. It was equally as impressive in the movie. You're seeing the destruction of Metropolis. You're seeing the Zod fight, the world engine, all from the ground as Bruce Wayne's trying to get to it. I'm going to stop right there before I jump further and talk about having seen so much of this imagery in the trailers. This movie, I don't think it suffered because of this, but I would have preferred to know a lot less about this movie, and I want to know as much as I fucking can, but I honestly feel like throughout the trailers and TV spots for this movie, they took literally a piece of almost virtually every scene in the movie. So as you were watching the movie, it was almost like a checklist of got it, need it, want it, got it. It was like doing cards. You used to be doing trading cards with your buddies and stuff because you've seen so much of it. Like every scene is represented by at least like one image or one clip in the trailer. And, I guess that's how they get people to come in. But good Lord, with the exception of like maybe, meeting the Justice League on a video and that flashback thing and, the thing that happens at the end with Superman, everything was up there in the trailer. Even Lois Lane in a tub. Like I seen every piece of this movie. It was weird. So in the future, I would encourage all marketing teams, like hold back, man. Like it's like coming at me naked. Let me like cover the nipples or something. Let me guess what's under there for heaven's sakes. Don't show me everything. That being said, on one hand, I'm not necessarily lowering, but I am cautioning. But I'm gonna raise marketing with the other hand because the amount of money that Batman v Superman made over this weekend, that is the marketing team at Warner Bros. For 2 years, they've been pounding this movie into our heads like, you need this, you want this, look at these posters. Boy, did it fucking work, man. It worked. Like, look, I was pre-sold. I was going anyway. But my brother went, man. He ain't a first weekend kind of guy. The whole fucking world went, man. They made almost $500 million. So the real hero of this bitch is not Batman or Superman. I say it's Sue Kroll of Warner Brothers, man. She made this shit pop. Everyone wants to see it. Anyway, back to the show. So we're seeing the world engine from Batman's point of view on the ground. He's like, get out of the building to a bunch of cats who I don't even know why they're still in that building at that point. You're seeing Metropolis fall around you. It's like, time to go. You ain't waiting for a Bruce Wayne call. But Bruce Wayne going to heroically get to him and try to save him if he can. He can't. There's a pretty wonderful moment where he's looking at the building and it's like, they don't cut inside. I wish they did, kind of, a little flashbacky kind of thing. Where, Zod used his eyes, fire eyes, and fucking tore the building apart. They were saying that was the Wayne building. And so as you're outside the building, you see psham, psham, and it starts crumbling and falling apart. So we saw that fight from inside the building. Now we're seeing it from Bruce Wayne's perspective, as you've seen in the trailers. I don't have to spoil it for you. Boy, they fucking spoiled that. Almost wholesale, they put that whole sequence in. And then the building comes down, and it lands on the legs of a guy. Bruce Wayne, one of the first real heroic acts we see him do, pick up the big, cross beam, pipe, bar, rebar, whatever the fuck they call it, giant beam, I-beam, I don't fucking know. I'm not in construction. I wish I was. I wish I was salt of the earth building type, like the Lord Jesus Christ. Unfortunately, I'm a filmmaker podcaster, so I don't know what that fucker's called. But it's on Scoot McNairy's legs, man. We're like, Scoot, Scoot. He can't scoot no more because he's fucking trapped. Batman lifts it up. He ain't Batman yet. He's Bruce Wayne. picks it up, and I was my first like, yeah, bitch, that's what Batman would do and shit. There was one nice moment when the building, the cloud dust goes away. There's like a horse kind of walks past as Bruce Wayne is waving the clouds away. And then there's like some random fucking lost dude is walking by, but he has this little moment. They don't make much of it where he's just like, is that Bruce Wayne? Like he recognized Affleck and shit like that. That was kind of dope. Affleck saves Scoot McNairy, or at least pulls the. He doesn't really save him; just he saves most of them, upper half of him and stuff. Legs he winds up losing later on, but he helps him. And then Batman saves the little girl who's about to get toppled. That was dope because he moved like Batman. Bam! He grabs the girl and goes right away as the wall falls down. And he's like, "Where's your mom? We're gonna find your mom." And she points up to the wrecked building. And that's when Batman, or Bruce Wayne rather, is looking up. And again, you've seen all this in the fucking trailer. You see Zod and Superman go through the sky, and they got that shot on where. Affleck's just like, I'm bat mad. And he's bat mad for the rest of the movie from that period forward. That was a fantastic sequence. Like, it was really cinematic. The whole fucking movie cinematic. Zack Snyder does not know how to shoot, compose a frame. He's a good shooter. But that particular sequence, all of it was epic. I don't know why, because it was kind of a repeat of a movie we'd seen, but it was from the ground. And also, technically, this is Man of Steel 2. I ain't buying this whole Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice title. This is Man of Steel 2, man. The same way that, like, sometimes comic companies renumber their comics, but they leave the real old number in the fucking UPC code. Let's just call this Man of Steel 2, because it functions well as Man of Steel 2, but you can't, that don't sell as many tickets as Batman v and Superman all over the place. So I get it. That's marketing, and that's Sue Kroll. That's genius. However, technically, this is Man of Steel 2. So we have to go back to Superman sooner or later. And we do, after that opening credit sequence, which I've spent a long time on, and Bruce seeing the world engine and all that stuff. Finally, we get to the next scene where they go to the Indian Ocean. And you see, that's dope, dude. Honestly, it was really cool, like seeing a fallen Kryptonian ship just in the water and kids diving into the water. And then they pull out this rock off the hull and bring it to shore and crack it open. And wouldn't you know it, fucking kryptonite inside. The introduction of hardcore kryptonite crystals, the mineral kryptonite, not just like him being unable to breathe on the Kryptonian ship in Man of Steel and vice versa. Actual kryptonite is introduced into the plot. And it's going to figure prominently, as it usually does in a Superman picture, man. Next, we got Lois Lane in the desert. This scene, I'm not saying I got a problem with this. However, the guy who she's with, the way I understand it, and I looked in the credits, I'm pretty sure he's credited as James Olsen. The guy she's with, who's just like, she didn't know. She's dumb to the whole thing. We didn't tell her. She was just a patsy. And the guy, again, spoilers, blows that dude away. I just credited as James Olsen. So if you were looking for Jimmy Olsen in the cinematic universe, look fast, because you blink and you might have missed that fucker. Boom, he face plants, man. I believe, I'm not quite sure, but I believe the Russian that's in the movie everyone keeps referring to, I think it might be KG Beast. That made me a little hard thinking about that. I was like, is this fucking KG Beast? Are they setting up KG Beast? This is fucking nuts. Is this the world we live in where I'm going to get fucking KG Beast one day in a movie? Is this the beginning of it? I didn't match the name to the name in the comic book, to be honest with you. I don't remember the dude's Russian name and stuff, but I'm sure somebody's going to tell me in the talkbacks. Down below, say, hey, you fucking fat asshole. Of course it was KG Beast. Or, no, you dumb fucking fat asshole. It ain't KG Beast. Or a kind version of that, just for variation on the internet. Okay, going back to the story, man. Back to the review, if you will. We find Lois Lane getting rescued by Superman, even though everybody else gets fucking killed, like hardcore, man. That Russian dude, who may or may not be the KG Beast, takes out everybody who wasn't taken out by the guy that they're talking to in the middle of the desert who must be a terrorist. Yeah, because she asked him, are you a terrorist? And he's like, I didn't know I was going to be interviewed by a lady. She said, I'm no lady, I'm a journalist. That's Lois Lane, plucky Lois Lane. Hot tubby Lois Lane, who we'll see in a couple scenes. That was kind of strange. So she being held by a dude in a bunker with a gun to her and shit like that. And then boom, you see the fucking, hear the fucking cloud burst, the sonic boom, and fucking bang. I mean, it's weird. Superman does a superhero landing in the movie. And I think Batman v Superman would have been better off had it been moved later from Deadpool, because Deadpool takes the piss out of a movie like this. Like, remember Deadpool just a couple weeks ago was all about, like, here comes the superhero landing, making fun of this shit. Literally, that's what happens. The first appearance we get of Superman is the superhero landing. So it kind of felt like, oh wow, they already meta-commented on this, satirized this in Deadpool. Why are we doing this again? But again, it's Batman, Superman. This is the start of the DC cinematic extended universe, man. So, you know, I'm happy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not shitting on the movie, but you know, I paid my money. I seen it 1.25 times, and you know, there's some things that hit me well. Some things that said, made me go, Wonder Woman hit me very well. Wonder Woman's theme, man. Come on, doesn't that make you want to work out and shit and CrossFit? Should have put that music under fucking Ben's CrossFit scene, man. Maybe that's just me, but ooh, I loved it. Anyway, we'll get to that in the future. Superman shows up. Lois, this is a cool moment where, you know, he's like, I'll show you the inside of her head. This is a very violent movie. And Superman like looks at Lois, and Lois lets go of the terrorist's arm, and then Superman just bam, just rockets him through a fucking wall, bunker wall, so who knows if that fucker's dead or not. And Lois is safe yet again. A lot of saving of ladies in this movie in such a way where you're like, is this Dick Donner's fucking Superman or 2016 Superman? I found that a little strange. Lois Lane always like, so it's a plot point that she's such Superman bait, or you know, ever getting into trouble, and Superman's always rescuing her, and then they drag his poor mother into the whole equation as well. But anyway, you know, Wonder Woman, she ain't nobody's prisoner, so we got one, and she's balls to the wall also, or ballless to the wall, awesome in the movie. There's a moment where she fighting, spoilers, in the third act, fucking bad guy knocks her down. She fucking like shrugs it off and like smiles, bitch, where she's like, I love this shit. That was fucking dope. Shit like that was amazing. Or when she's like, I've killed things from other worlds before. You're like, oh shit, she's talking about Hades and the gods of war and all those fucking Greek motherfuckers. That's going to be amazing. Maybe that's what they're doing in the Wonder Woman movie. So there's cool shit in the movie, trust me. But then there's some shit you just got to kind of get through, man. They introduced the Holly Hunter character, and the government's real concerned with what Superman's getting up to and what he's supposed to be doing, not doing, intervening, and stuff like that. Isn't it weird? It's like he saves lives, and they're like, well, maybe he shouldn't save lives. They even say that in the movie and stuff. It's a bizarre little argument to get into. Once again, this is a joyless comic book world, the DC universe. And I'm not saying it sucks. I'm just saying, like, nobody seems happy to have their powers, and it's always dark out. So Suicide Squad, on the other hand, looks like it's kind of full of joy and stuff. But BvS, man, very straight, very straight. I used to pray that they would take these movies this seriously when I was a fucking kid. Like, man, why can't they do it fucking as serious as Tim Burton? We thought Tim Burton was fucking serious. This is serious as a heart attack. Between Nolan's version and this version, Jesus, this is Bat Jesus to some degree. Okay, man, so we meet Holly Hunter's character. She's got a mean on for Clark, and Lois is listening to this, and she's in the tub, and she's like, man, maybe we shouldn't be together because you can't fucking do me right and then fucking go out and save people. What if you're here and somebody needs a saving when you're doing what you should be doing and shit? And so, you know, that moment is thrown away because he's like, here's a tulip. Let me get in the tub, and everything's made right. The fact that Lois Lane's in the tub, I mean, I'm sure we could point to historic precedent somewhere, but it just felt very like random selection. Like, let's put Amy Adams in the tub. You know, I'm not saying necessarily it's a horrible idea, but it didn't really seem to further the plot much. I don't know, but I remember it, so fuck me, right? Maybe I should put everything in the tub. Maybe if I put fucking Tusk in the tub, shit would have worked out different. Well, maybe I should be taking a page out of Snyder's book. Let me see. What else we got? Perry White, we spent some time at the Daily Planet, and it's all right. That's what further makes me feel this is a Man of Steel 2 rather than Batman v Superman. We do spend a lot of the time with the same characters from Man of Steel, you know, granted, they're Superman's world, but I don't know. It felt like a direct carryover from that flick. I mean, it did, particularly with that opening sequence. So, you know, there's some of that. Bruce Wayne, a lot of people like, this Bruce Wayne likes to go to fight clubs. I didn't read it as he likes to go to fight clubs. I read it as at the fight club following KG Beast, if that's who it was, so he could clone his fucking phone, so we could find out X, Y, or Z. Looking for the white Portuguese, and some noise that I heard in the background when Batman was sitting there talking to the fucking Alfred, who was maybe our best cinematic Alfred yet. Jeremy Irons. They needed to give that motherfucker more to do. He's amazing in the movie, and his 4 withering lines, he's really, really strong. More for that guy. Makes you want to see a Batman Alfred movie solo. So in any event, fuck, I forgot where I was. Bruce Wayne, I didn't read it as he likes to go to fight clubs. He was tracking that guy. But while he was there, he gives the dude a tip. That was kind of dope, where he's like, the fighter falls toward him and he whispers something. The fighter looks at him weird. Then the fighter goes and takes the other fucking dude down, and you're like, and he looked back at Bruce, and Bruce just kind of gives him the nod. I'll be honest with you, I like that. I thought that was cool, where he's just like, fucking hit him in the head. Like, fucking hit him in the head with your revolver. I don't know what he told him, but fucking damn, it was good advice. So you saw Batman doing a bit of detective work, a bit, in the movie. He mostly hurts people. We see the return of Batman in Gotham City is, as we've seen in the trailer, branding people, searing them. And they make a point of saying, when you wear one of these fucking seersucker suits to prison, you're going to get fucking killed. That's it. No two ways about it. The Bat brand is a certain death certificate or some shit like that. So that's usually out of the purview of the Batman we're all used to and stuff like that. Normally likes to chuck people into Arkham or Blackgate, but here he's just like, kill them while they're there. I ain't going to do it myself. You do it. Batman uses guns in this movie, and there's a few kills and stuff. So since your grandpa's Batman, this is the Batman that goes against everything the other Batman you grew up with stands for. No guns, no killing, fuck that. Bang, bang, kill, kill. He stabs a motherfucker at one point. Ain't bitching, happy for a hard Batman. Maybe they'll dial him back now that he's got some super friends to play with at the end of this picture. Spoilers. Okay. Let's see. Bruce Wayne goes to visit his parents' grave. Feels like a lot in this movie. He don't live in Wayne Manor anymore. It's all falling apart. He lives in the house that the dude from AI lived in. Looks like he rented the place from Oscar Isaacs and shit. If you've seen that movie, that was a really dope movie. So he lives there. At one point, we see him in bed with a lady, and we see a lot of empty wine bottles and shit like that. And again, this is Alky Batman. Like, felt like Zack Snyder read The Dark Knight Returns and loved, the last book where Batman and Superman smashy. But picked up elements throughout the book, and one was like, a few empty bottles, or Alfred saying, it'd be nice to leave some of the Wayne something in the wine cellar, Wayne Next Generation, as if there'll be one or something like that. So that was direct from that fucking book, which is great, quoting the Bible almost. But they play him as kind of like, he likes to drink and fuck you up. This is a Batman for a new age. So they're tracking this white Portuguese. He's telling Alfred, because, there's a dirty bomb coming to Gotham, but really he's tracking this big old kryptonite block. So he's like, I'm going to go. I need the suit. I'm going to go to fucking LexCorp. And Alfred's like, well, you just got invited to a party, fool. And he looks at the invite, and that's the party we've seen in all the fucking trailers, surprise, surprise, where they meet for the first time. So there's a bit of detective work there in terms of, him going to the party and attaching something to something so he can spy on LexCorp, get all his files, whatever the fuck. At one point, though, Mercy, Lex Luthor's assistant, lady who walks down the hallway in the trailer with Zod's body in the big case. If you don't know Zod's body, you're not paying attention. She's like, you're not supposed to be down here with Mr. Wayne. And Ben gets to play drunk, like, hey, man. He's like, oh, I had a second martini. I was looking for your bathroom. And there's a real fucking dope moment, at least for me, because it felt like pure Affleck, where he's like trying to be drunk. He's like, I like your shoes. And she like fucking walks away and shit. That was cool. I like that. I felt a little Batman. Here's the thing I thought when I was watching this movie. Tough to be the Batman. I mean, in all situations. You lost your parents and all that shit. But like, think about it. You go see Iron Man 3, it don't matter if fucking Robert Downey Jr. is in the suit but like 10 minutes total or something like that. Most of that movie's walking around as Robert Downey Jr. That's a charming billionaire with high-tech suit armor and fucking he fights crime. But he's always cracking jokes and shit. So even if the movie's dog shit, which so far no Marvel movie has ever been, you're like, hey, man, this is entertaining. I'll watch this guy read the fucking phone book and shit. He gets to be lively and fun and stuff. You can't get that with Bruce Wayne. You do that, you're against type. I mean, look, I'm not saying you need to go as dark as they went and shit, but, if you take him, hey, everybody, I'm just here to fuck around, then people are like, that ain't Batman, you piece of shit. So it's a tough line to walk. If you want it to be the RDJ, the Robert Downey Jr. of the DC universe, that's not really the part. I don't know what the part is, because nobody seems to be happy in this movie to be superheroes. It's all burden and shit like that. A lot of talk of gods and men and gods and Congress and what is a god's part in man's world, and a lot of God man stuff. More so than when I was an altar boy, my whole childhood. There's more God and man talk in this movie than there was during the average mass. Even the liturgy of the Eucharist. There, I said it. Okay, so we get to a dream sequence like that Bruce has, that we've all seen in the movie Nightmare Batman, him in the desert with a fucking long duster and shit like that. Look cool. There's like a shot, single take, like where, he's fighting the fuck out of people. It's pretty dope. And then, it builds in intensity, and he walks out and he sees like an Omega beam sign, big Omega sign. He's meeting somebody who's going to give him kryptonite, but it ain't kryptonite. He's been hosed, and Superman's soldiers. Why would Superman need guards? Take off their they got patches on, like, and they fucking shoot the Batman's, maybe sons of the Batman, whatever fuck these people are working with Batman. And all of a sudden, Batman's taken captive after a mean fight sequence. But this is a defining moment of the movie for most people in many ways. This is a defining moment in my second screening, and this is what I'll tell you. The first screening, I was like, come on, really? Like, they had fucking years to get ready for Batman meeting Superman for the first time, and this is the story that they chose to tell? I went to it with my own agenda going like, they should be doing this, this, and this. So I was in my first viewing. Second viewing, I went back with Jason Mewes, and, I didn't have that baggage in terms of like, I knew what was going to happen. And it was a much easier watch. It washed over me a little better. But that moment in the desert, Nightmare Batman, crystallized that movie for me, for why some people fucking love it and some people like gave it shit reviews and hate it and shit like that. Soon as we get to the fight scene where, Batman's getting his ass pummeled and shit, and they're hitting him in the fucking face with rifle butts and shit, and you're seeing what look like fucking parademons come from what looked like a boom tube in the distance. One parademon, clearly parademon, lands behind him and walks up behind Batman, and you see it's a fucking parademon with the goggles and everything, knocks his ass out cold. And it's just a dream and shit like that. But as soon as fucking that one parademon was like, bam, knocks him out, Jason Mewes and I turned to each other. I was on his right, he was on my left. We turned to each other simultaneously, almost Jinx, you owe me a Coke. We both said parademons. And that's why this movie works for some people, because some motherfuckers don't need anything more than to see a parademon for a couple seconds. Some of us been dreaming about seeing a fucking parademon on the screen. So what if the boat's a little creaky, or if this sucks, or, oh, Jesus, that makes no sense, or what? That's why they stopped fighting? It's moments like that. Like, I understand why the average DC fan is like, fuck you, I don't care. This movie's perfect by my standards. Because they're giving you what you've wanted your whole fucking life. Motherfucker, he showed us a parademon knocking Batman on his head, dude. Come on. And that's another dream sequence. There's a lot of those in this movie. He wakes up from a dream and has another fucking dream where they introduce the fucking Flash. And that's when I leaned forward in my seat in the theater. I was like, holy shit. Until I saw a suit, and then I was like, oh no. It looks like it's metal and stuff like that. But they introduce the idea of Barry breaking the time barrier. I wish they would make this one Wally. And I wish Grant Gustin, TV's Flash, was the movie Flash. That'd make a lot more sense. And boy, oh boy, make a lot of people happy. But happiness is not the end game in Batman v Superman. They had Flash, and that meant, oh my God, we're going to do a crisis type storyline and shit. Somewhere along the line, he references things and spooky kind of like, it's Lois, you were right about him and stuff. Could they be doing like Injustice, Gods Among Us, where Lois fucking dies and Superman goes ape shit? That would be fucking phenomenal. Holy fuck. Fuck you, take all my money. Take all the money I earned directing Flash. Take all my money for the rest of my life if you're going to do that fucking storyline. And why not? You're this dark already. It doesn't take much to make this Superman the Injustice Superman. He's already all mean looking all the time and shitty. So, hey man, do that storyline. That'd be dope. Superman goes batshit because Lois got killed. I'm in. You got my money for that. I mean, let's be honest. They got my money for all this shit regardless. Okay, back to the story. So, after that vision, Batman got from, this device that he put in Lex Luthor's data cabinet and stole some of his data, but then Wonder Woman stole Diana Prince. They don't even identify her, but we all know it's Wonder Woman because we saw the trailers. Wonder Woman gets, steals Batman's decoder fucking ring from Lex Luthor's data net, and he goes to chase her down, but can't get her somehow, even though he's Batman, whatever. But he's been stopped to speak to fucking Clark at one point, tries to interview him. We saw that in the trailer too. I'm telling you, we saw a lot of this shit in the trailer, man. And it feels like full scenes at a certain point too. Okay, so they got, let's see, Bruce starts interacting with this strange woman. He goes to like a museum opening or a party where they're looking at a knife, and they both know that this ain't the real knife. Give me the knife, please. And then, she's like, he's like, you stole something from me. They have one of those James Bondian kind of in public deep conversations about fucking espionage. And she says that, like, I left in your glove compartment, fool. And so he's got the information. That's when he starts cracking open Luthor's fucking files and shit, because he can encrypt it or decrypt it better than she can. And so he sends her later on in the movie a fucking file of a picture. She says she wants these files because there's a picture that belongs to her. And Batman finds that picture, and it's taken in 1918, which is a setup for the Wonder Woman sequel. You even see Chris Pine in the photo and stuff. And you steer the beginning of that theme, bum, ba-da-dum, 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 bum, bum. And you're like, ooh, that's good. So, boom, he sends her that. He eventually cracks the code and sends her the email and says, who are you? And, how is this possible or whatever and shit like that. Bruce Wayne dealing with Diana Prince. Like, come on, dude, that was hot. He didn't call her Diana yet, and nobody said Diana Prince, but we know that's Wonder Woman, and that's their interactions. That's pretty dope. She opens some of the files, and that's where we see the Justice League lining up for the first time. This I had a problem with. Lex Luthor apparently names all the Justice League and comes up with all their symbols based on what I saw. Lex Luthor is a whole nother conversation. Jesse Eisenberg, unchained, like nuts. Like either that or was dialed up to 11 and told, like, hey, see what everyone else is doing? You do the crazy opposite of that. Why couldn't they just let Luthor just be a badass? Why couldn't he have been Mark Zuckerberg? His performance is Mark Zuckerberg. He didn't have to do any of the ticks or the Jokerish type stuff and stuff. That would have been sinister enough, man. Anyway, he's not as bad as everyone fucking says. He's got some nice moments in the movie as well. And he's got a really nice deleted scene online this morning where they see, spoilers, fucking Steppenwolf and Holding mother boxes, and Lex is sitting in a big fucking vat of what looks like Palm Wonderful or something like that. So, it looks like he might have been a victim of some hardcore editing. And boy, this movie could have used some more hardcore editing. At 2.5 hours, it was very fucking long. They don't fight till an hour and a half in, man. There's a lot of setup time and whatnot. And then finally, Superman is called to Congress. He goes to Congress. There's the introduction of piss to the DC universe, very important milestone. It's weird. I imagine Marvel would have got to piss first, because they had Punisher Intruder was a great one-shot hardcover graphic novel back in the day, where at one point somebody captured Frank Castle and they put a fucking bag of piss over his head to drown him. I was like, what's fucking worse than that? Holy shit, drowning in a bag of fucking piss. So I figured sooner or later Marvel would be the first ones in the piss business, but no. In that Congress scene, there's a jar of piss. Holly Hunter is acting opposite a jar of piss. Holly fucking Hunter, dude. Off a joke, the comment that Lex Luthor, she shares with Lex Luthor early on in the movie. This leads to a giant explosion where Scoot McNairy blows up his wheelchair and stuff. He comes back in. Boom, blows up Congress. For a minute, you're like, oh, they're going to blame Superman. I get it. But right away, there's a news report where they're like, Superman's nowhere to be found. We know it wasn't him. It was the guy in the wheelchair. So you're like, what was the point of all that? But anyway, that's enough to make Batman go fucking CrossFit. CrossFit. You CrossFit, you can cross fuck off. Letterkenny, genius show. So he starts pulling tires and hitting tires and being all sorts of abusive to tires, but no more abusive than he's going to be to fucking Superman later on. Lifting shit. You see Ben Affleck's abs and crazy abs and stuff. He's one big giant muscle. And then he gets suited up, man, puts on that fucking suit. I remember seeing that trailer for the first time with Light Eyes Batman and being like, I can't believe I'm going to see Light Eyes Batman in my lifetime. And we see him. Every piece of him was in the trailer practically, except for Broken Mask Batman. That was new. So, boom, he's there, sets his fucking bat light in the sky. This is after we had a scene where Batman and Superman encounter each other for the first time, where Batman uses the Batmobile. And it's a largely not memorable sequence. I'm not saying it was poorly done, but it's just like, in terms of Batmobile scenes, it doesn't, what can I remember about it? At one point, he fucking grabs a car and drags it with him. That's new. At least it didn't drive up a fucking building. But the badass thing that happens is he's after this big rock of kryptonite that Lex just had shipped in. That's when you see that shot in the trailer where the lights hit Superman and Batman's like, holy fuck, that was worth the price of admission right there, that look. But we saw it in the trailer. So really, we didn't have to pay. And then the Batmobile fucking gleans off of Superman and crashes into a fucking gas tank and don't blow up. And that's when Superman comes over, rips open the doors. We've seen that since the early trailers and stuff. And tell me, do you bleed? You will. You know, that kind of shit, which was unnecessary. That's not my Batman. He ain't telling people they're going to bleed unless they're fucking criminal. And he knows that Superman stands for the side of good. It ain't his fault that Zod was a prick and he had to defend the universe and stuff. So that seemed a little off model for my Batman. So Superman getting up his grill about like, stop branding people, you prick. Don't fucking go to your light next time they light it and stuff. So that made fucking an already mad Bruce Wayne or Batman even more mad. The Congress thing happens. And so suddenly this guy is just like, boom, let's do it. And he's there and ready for the showdown. Now, the setup for the showdown, Lois gets kidnapped yet again, this time by Lex Luthor or by the KGBs. He was also involved if that dude is indeed the KGBs. In any event, they take her in a helicopter to the top of LexCorp, where crazy Lex Luthor, who's already been, gotten access to the Kryptonian ship and the dead body of General Zod, he's creating something. He cut his hand open in some toilet water with the body of Zod, and holy shit, that's how you create life. I didn't know that, and that's coming from a father. I thought there was only one way to create life, but apparently the other way is you cut your hand open over a dead body and stick him in some Kryptonian toilet water and flush it up, see what happens. So he's secretly, or not so secretly, building a monster that we don't know, or actually we do know because we saw every trailer, shows up in the third act. He's building Doomsday. So Lois goes up to the top of LexCorp. I thought this was kind of cool, this scene, actually. He's like, Lex, like, look, I'm fucking batshit crazy, and there's only one way to get to Superman, and say in a circle, it's a triangle, it's you, me, and Superman, and I think if I threaten you, and he just fucking pushes her off the building, and you're like, holy shit. And then Superman catches her, of course, comes out of hiding. He's been hiding since the Congress thing, went up, saw his dead dad on a mountain. Kevin Costner comes back, Prince of Thieves himself, dancing with wolves up on a mountaintop, telling a story about he killed some horses. That's what I got out of it. Telling yet another story about, like, I was a hero for a minute, but being a hero sucks. Somebody's got to pay, and I guess that's the point. Someone rises, somebody fucking falls. I don't know, that's a real thin point to make, particularly if you're like, go be your best, son. So Superman comes back and saves Lois. Then he goes up to face Luthor. You fucking prick. He's like, I'm going to take you in without breaking you, sons of bitch, in a real anti-Superman kind of way. But I don't mind when Superman gets mad at Lex Luthor, particularly because he fucking just threw Lois Lane off a building. But Lex starts acting a little bit more like Lex, although not so much with his performance, but in as much as he's got grand plans. And he stole Superman's mom, Martha Kent. Start putting it together, kids. And he don't know where she is, so Superman can't beat it out of him and shit. And he's like, unless you go fucking bring me the head of Batman, I'm going to kill your mother. And he knows that Clark Kent is Superman. He even tells him he's Clark Joseph Kent. And later on, he talks about in order to go Batman and Superman to fighting, he sent Bruce Wayne some letters. So that means that Lex Luthor knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman as well. So if Lex Luthor, your big bad in this whole universe, knows the major identities of all the Justice League at this point, why doesn't he just have them all killed or whatever the fuck? Like, or why isn't he just telling the world? He's like, you put me in jail, guess what? Your life's never going to be the same. I call you out. Bruce Wayne is Batman. You do the fucking Bendis storyline from Daredevil years ago. So, boom. Well, I don't understand that. Unless he went to prison and loses his mind, but then, oh my God, we're going to get more manic performance? So I don't know what's going on there. I'm very uncomfortable with many people knowing secret identities. That's how everything falls apart and stuff. So that part of it really kind of bummed me out. So did their reason for fighting. I mean, Batman's kind of makes sense, although he's kind of bat bully in this movie, real shitty, don't like aliens, more like Bat Trump. And he forces this fight down the fucker's throat. Superman's like being pushed into the fight, goaded into the fight by Lex Luthor going, I'll kill your mom. He's got these really nasty fucking Polaroids and shit. And so, but Superman's like, I got to try, goes to Lois, he's like, I'm going to try to convince this guy that, they've got my mom. And, he's like, but nobody can stay good forever, Lois. Meaning and he even says, he goes, if I can't, I got to kill him. And you're like, why? Superman, stop killing people. So off he goes. Lois runs into the Daily Planet and demands a helicopter for personal use, and they give it to her, which proves this is an alternate reality altogether. The multiverse, apparently newspapers got enough money for this kind of shit. So can't afford a fucking cartoonist anymore, but no, they'll send Lois Lane on a helicopter for personal reasons. So she's going over to Gotham, which is, by the way, just across the harbor from Metropolis in this reality. Not something I'm necessarily against, but boy, it makes the DC universe quite small. So in any event, Batman waiting on a rooftop with his light and shit. Superman shows up, and he starts telling him, he's like, "They just want us to fight, dude. We shouldn't do this." And Batman starts getting right into it and fucking him up, and then hits him with some kryptonite dust. It's like poof. And suddenly Superman's like, "I can't breathe." And he's like, "Breathe it in, bitch." And then he starts knuckleballing him. Affleck having him voice modulator, I've been praying for that since they announced this movie and talking about it on the podcast. So I was delighted to see they used it as much as they did. Made a lot of sense, made him sound real fucking badass. He's talking at Superman and being all sorts of crusty and shit like that. Superman trying not to fight. I don't know if I responded to this way because me and Ernie O'Donnell got into a fight in high school and he was trying to fight me, but I was just trying to go to my next class. And I remember I was putting my books in the locker, he's pushing me, he's like, "Come on, Smitty." And I was like, "Come on, Ern, I just gotta go to class." And I looked around me, there's a bunch of people looking like, fight, fight, fight. And so, maybe it's because that personal moment connection there where I was like, "Oh, I don't like it when people fight when one of them doesn't want to fight." They both got to want to fight and shit. And this guy's trying to talk reason, and the other dude like, "Come on, Bats, I'm going to class," trying to put his book in his locker and shit, so to speak. So in any event, they fight, as you've seen in the trailer. Trust me, I don't think there's any part of the fight that you haven't seen in the trailer until they get to the point where he gets the upper hand. He fucking, even Jason Mewes said this. He goes, "You would imagine Superman wouldn't fall for the kryptonite dust a second time." And he fucking does. And Batman gets the upper hand. His mask is all cracked, and he's put the fucking kryptonite spear, which he built from the stolen Lex Luthor kryptonite, which he went in later to LexCorp and just stole and left a batarang, evidence clearly that he did it, and shaped it into a goddamn spear, which he had waiting at the place where Superman shows up. And he fucking takes him down. He's got his boot on his neck, cuts Superman's face, starts talking about, "You're not a man." Shit like that made me uncomfortable too, because look, I'm a big fat pussy, and I was sitting in the audience going like, "Well, if he's not a man, what the fuck am I? I mean, fuck these tits, buddy. Like, come on." So all that man talk, you'd imagine God and man talk would work on an old Catholic like me, but it's way too much talk of gods and way too much talk about only men can do this shit. Very macho. So he's about to stab the shit out of Superman. Like, that's maybe one thing they don't really show you in the trailer for that movie is how close. It ain't just the tip, folks. Batman almost takes it to the balls. He wants to stab this alien so badly. Man, he's bringing the spear down. Oh, he's got his foot on his neck. Lois Lane shows up in the nick of the time because Clark is going like, "Gotta save Martha." And this trips out Batman for the weirdest, like, most trivial pursuity reason you'd ever imagine. Batman's like, "Why did you say Martha? Why did you say that name, Martha?" And he starts having flashbacks to the opening of the movie and shit like that. And the audience is piecing it together, but thank God Lois Lane shows up to be like, "His mom's name is Martha, you big dumb prick." She don't say that, I added that. That would have helped though, trust me. And at that point, Batman's like, "What have I done? I shouldn't have killed him. Your mom's name is Martha? My mom's name is Martha. Let us be super friends." That's essentially what happens right in that moment. So suddenly he's tossing the kryptonite spear away. He's all mad at it, but he made it. And then, Superman's like, "He's got my mom," and shit like that. And meanwhile, they're launching something like Doomsday is coming, and he's got to get Luthor and shit like that. And so Batman's like, "I'll get your mom." And Superman's like, "Yeah, you almost got me through the heart, buddy." And he was like, "I promise your Martha won't die today." A lot of heavy-handed Martha talk and shit like that. So Batman and Superman kind of become super friends via that. Batman goes off to save Martha Kent. You've seen that sequence in the third trailer, the whole opening with Alfred being like, "Why don't I drop you off on the second floor?" And Batman goes through the window and pulls motherfuckers through the floor and proceeds to Arkham Knight them to death and shit like that. Same fucking sequence. Felt a little bit longer, but same thing you saw in the trailer, which is badass, don't get me wrong. What you didn't see is him saving Martha Kent. And Martha, he says, "I'm a friend of your son's." And she goes, "I figured," with the cape. "I'm a friend of your son's" is a big fucking stretch. If he was being honest, what he should have said was, "I was about to kill the shit out of your alien boy until I found out your name is Martha. My mother's name is Martha. Let's get out of here." A little more honesty from my heroes and shit like that. So he saves Martha Kent. As an old DC fan, kids, that meant something to me. That whole like, "You're Martha, let's stop fighting." that, you know, yipes. Of all the contrived reasons to make them fight, including fucking like, I've got your mommy, go kill the Batman. Having them stop the fight because it's like, your mom's name is Martha? My mom's name is Martha. That must make us buddies somehow. Like, it's a stretch. But whatever. Batman saving fucking Martha Kent. That's mainlining the good stuff, kids. Straight up the DC universe, man. Then you fucking show me another movie where Batman ever saved Superman's mother. Doesn't really happen. Would have been better if it was Superman's dad, but he died. That would have been even more spectacular if Batman somehow saved Jonathan Kent from the fucking grave. It's a whole different movie. And that's why I'm not in charge of the franchise. So at this point in my second viewing, as Batman and Superman finally stopped fighting, most amazing fucking thing happened. Two people sitting in the theater in front of me and Muse got up and started fucking fighting with each other. Actual fist fight like this. You heard that shit. You heard that shit. It sounded nasty. We just watched a fucking fake fight. Do you know how fucking grim and real an actual fight sounds as it's like mere feet from you? Me and Muse got the fuck up and got out of there, man. We were like, we don't want none of this. Off we went. So Muse didn't even get to see the last part of the movie. The whole thing stopped and the theater was fucking up in arms and stuff. The guy, the assailant, like just punched the shit out of a dude, threw two chairs, and then ran out with his wife and kid. He had a kid, an 11:30 show. It was kind of fucked up. So, but there was booze involved. Everyone was coming in with drinks because there was a bar right there and shit like that. So there you go. What's the lesson there? What's the moral, kids? Don't drink and go see Batman v Superman. Makes you uppity. Makes you want to fighty. Makes you feel fighty. So in any event, man, whole fucking, that movie ended for Muse. He didn't even get to see Wonder Woman and shit. That being said, he loved what he saw. And he was spared the last 20 minutes. Or, you know, maybe he didn't see the last 20 minutes, depending on how you look at it. Last 20 minutes, I didn't get to see the second viewing. I'll be honest with you. I liked the movie a whole lot more than the first viewing. Might have something to do with those last 20 minutes, man. Doomsday, like, they unleash him, and I don't remember much, except he don't look like Doomsday that much. And this, what year did they do this effect? And is this whole thing shot on a green screen? Because it's awfully dark. Didn't feel like a real world presence whatsoever. So the big fight is not necessarily, you know, Superman, Batman is a big fight. And then the undercard, I guess, would be Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman kid shows up versus Doomsday. So that's why I'll sit through the Doomsday fight, because the best part of it is hands down Wonder Woman. Batman makes the worst fucking tactical mistake of his entire career, 75-year history. Superman is, what's he up to at that point? Fuck, I forget. Going to get Luthor, maybe? I don't fucking know. But he's fighting Doomsday. And then Wonder Woman comes in, that then starts fighting the shit out of it. And she does. She's stabby with this fucker. She's the one who cuts off his fucking arm, Doomsday. And, you know, at one point, Doomsday belts her, fucking, she lands against the rock. You saw it in the trailer. And she's not like, she just fucking shakes it off. She's like, you son of a bitch. And she smiles and goes back in. Right before when the Trinity comes together, you got to be a fucking robot to not be like, there it is. That's something I've wanted to see my whole life. Yes, I wish they were a lot friendlier to each other, and I wish the movie had a little more joy to it, but there's Batman standing next to fucking Superman, standing next to Wonder Woman. The Trinity is complete. That means we're off and running to the DC universe, man. So I'll take the road bumps. I'll take the shit that's way uncharacteristic. I ain't, you know, what the fuck? I ain't a great filmmaker, so maybe I wouldn't have done anything much better and shit. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have the balls to even try. Let's be honest, Zack Snyder is a filmmaker. Maybe you don't agree with his tone and stuff, but boy, he believes in this shit big time. I don't know if he has the same reading of this material as I do, but he treats it very, 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 very seriously, and that's something I'd always wanted my whole life. So be careful what you wish for. So in the third act, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman beat the shit out of Doomsday, who the more you fucking blow at him, he gets bigger and bigger. And this is the big spoiler, folks. If you haven't seen the movie and you've gone this deep into the review, what the fuck is wrong with you? What are you, a cat person? This is the big spoiler. I didn't even know this. And I got some friends in the biz, and this was so deep cuts, I did not know they were going to do this. Ready? Big spoiler. 5, 4, 3. I'm looking at a clock, doesn't exist. 2, 1. They fucking crammed the death of Superman into this bitch as well. I mean, I guess we should have figured with Doomsday, but when I remember I seen Doomsday in the trailer, I'm like, nah, they would never try to do the fucking death. Maybe they'll just show Doomsday a little bit now, just the tip, and then a future movie will come back and fucking kill Superman. No, to start the DC extended universe, the DCEU, holy shit. They fucking threw everything but the kitchen sink, which at one point they had a bathroom sink that Batman fucking crashed over Superman's head, and I was like, there it is, everything but the sink. Everything and the fucking sink. they threw in Doomsday as well. And Doomsday kills Superman. Death of Superman they threw in. There's a tender moment between Superman and Lois where they bring back that hopeful Superman theme, where he's resigned to go out there and fucking take him down. And at that moment, I'm like, holy shit, are they really going to fucking try to do this too? Superman goes in and gets killed, man. He gets stabbed by fucking Doomsday's fucking spiky little paw before Doomsday gets taken. He fucking kills Doomsday and Doomsday kills him simultaneously. Not like exactly in the comics, but close enough. And I'll be honest with you, like, Superman I've known and loved longer than Han Solo, but when Han Solo died in The Force Awakens, I rolled tears. I was like, no, my boy's my favorite uncle. Superman died in this movie, I didn't roll any tears. And not because I was like, good, but, I was like, oh, I was too busy shaking my head going, why would you try to cram this much into it? They take down Doomsday, and it's knocked down a fuck ton of buildings, but it's an uninhabited part of Gotham, so everything's okay. They learned from the last picture. There's a funeral for Superman, and then I was gonna say Affleck, Bruce Wayne and Diana Prince, but they don't say Diana Prince, but Wonder Woman, are standing there looking at the small Kansas funeral. How they got an invite to the Kansas funeral is fucking beyond me. I guess because he saved Martha Kent, but still, fucking endangered her son. Probably had to bury her boy with a mark on his face. He was like, my boy, my beautiful boy, his mark on his face. So they're standing there, and, he's like, I failed him in life. I won't fail him in death. Like, Jesus Christ, dude, you practically ended his life. In fact, you weakened the motherfucker so much with all that kryptonite dust, he couldn't finish off this fucking pile of protoplasmic space shit from fucking the Kirbyverse, man. Well, I ain't from the Kirbyverse. Kirbyverse is coming, bitch. Doomsday from outer space and shit. I partly blame Batman for weakening Superman. But at least he felt a little bad at the end. And maybe that'll soften him so he won't be so super emo and everyone could finally be super fucking friends. So movie ends and, they cut down to underneath. And this ain't even a fucking spoiler, for heaven's sakes. You knew they were going to do this. They ain't going to fucking keep moving much further without a Superman. They show the top of his casket and it suddenly... the dirt raises into the air, and then they just cut to black. So that's the end of the movie right there. So, you're like, all right, we've done it, man. We're off to the races and shit. And, it was sometimes a touch and go affair, but we're off to the races. Can't wait. I'm going to sit through these credits because I've been trained. And in the age of the comic book movie, Deadpool came out and gave us Ferris Bueller. I cannot wait to get a taste of the Justice League, and then when the credits ended, the credits fucking ended. They wouldn't even give you a fucking joyous end credit sequence, man. So this comic book universe plays by its own terms, ladies and gentlemen. It's decidedly serious. Too serious to give you a fucking preview of what's coming next. But that's okay. I ain't bitching. I paid cash money to see it. I'm going to pay cash money to see it one more time before it leaves theaters and stuff. Overall, I don't review shit as a filmmaker. I didn't watch this as a filmmaker. I watched it as a fucking DC Comics fan. As a filmmaker, I'll tell you, I could never do any of the things I saw in this fucking movie. So I ain't looking at it through a critical eye of a filmmaker. But as a guy who's read comics all his life, yeah, I wish the characterizations were a little closer to what I grew up with. And yes, I wish somebody had said, Jesse, scoot closer, Jesse. Don't do that. Do anything else. Don't do that. Don't do the Jim Carrey Riddler. Whatever. But, he did enough decent shit. Look, I'm an up with people person. It's tough for me to fucking take anything apart, man, especially when I know I couldn't do it myself. But there was enough stuff in there. And again, I'll call it the parademon theory, which is that was enough. It didn't fucking matter what happened from there in on out. Didn't matter if the movie made sense. Didn't matter if it was well made as a Marvel movie or a fucking whatever. Didn't matter that, it didn't have a moral. That's the thing, man. Deadpool has a moral. Doesn't matter what you look like on the outside, it's on the inside. I don't think Batman v Superman has a moral. I've been trying to think about it since I've seen it twice, or 1 3/4 time. Not quite sure. I guess the moral might be don't judge a book by its cover. Maybe. I don't know, man. But I like my superhero stories that have morality. Some people are like, you big fat wet pussy, grow up. This is a fucking 21st century. They don't have to be morality tales. Fine, that's fine. It's just my opinion and shit. So in any event, man, here. Doesn't matter. Sturm and Drang, scrape it all aside. Parademons moment. I'm not saying that's what makes or breaks this movie for people, but for a fan, that's why you forgive a lot, man. That's why it's like being in a relationship with somebody that's just yeah, I like you a lot, but I want to give somebody else a hand job. You're like, no, and shit like that. And it drive you a little nuts, but that's part of fucking passion and whatnot. But that paradigm, maybe that's a terrible analogy, actually. That might have sent fucking high school kids screaming. Like, what? This movie's like being cheated on? Maybe that's only my generation. Maybe the kids are too casual these days to think about that kind of shit. Maybe I'm an old man. And I thought of that when I watched this movie. Because the first time it ended, I was like, oh, I should have been swept away. This movie should have been my Bible. Like, why aren't I feeling like fucking the way I feel after even watching a fucking trailer for, you know, a Civil War or something like that? Or for even this movie, the trailers would make me feel happy. But, you know, I wondered if it was me. I honestly felt like I was like, oh my God, my heart has died. Is this what happens? Like one day you just fucking wake up, you watch a movie and it's Batman and you're like, all of this is fucking bullshit. Why is he dressed like this? This is dumb. I've wasted my life. Why didn't I spend more time with my kid? Why did I read this crap? But that was my first reaction to the movie. Then I saw the reviews, and a lot of people felt like the same way, picked apart the same kind of things. We're like, this is not strong. This is not strong. This is not strong. But I actually found it comforting to read those because A, I felt like I wasn't crazy at first, and B, then I started getting defensive about the movie. I'm like, oh, wait a second. It's not that fucking bad. And the reviews, if you believe them, paint it down, man. Like 29, they're at 29% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yoga Hosers is at 26%. I'm not saying I'm proud of that, but I'm just saying like we're within striking distance of the Batman v Superman record, but we'll never touch its box office. And few films will. Maybe Civil War will when it opens in a couple months because it's got fucking Spider-Man. But if it don't, you can forgive it for heaven's sakes. This is the first time Batman and Superman were ever together in anything. It wasn't a cartoon or comic book or something like that in a big motion picture. So naturally, it's going to make a lot of money, and hopefully it keeps making money because we want more DC Universe movies, man. Don't sit there and be like, fuck it, it wasn't what I wanted. Here, maybe the next one will be. Look at Suicide Squad. That don't look like what you want? Fine. If you don't want that, Wonder Woman's next. You don't want that, Justice League's next. Like, don't shit talk these movies to the point where they're like, yeah, let's not make them. But at the end of the day, you vote with your wallet, as many people did, and we're getting more of these movies. And the more they make of them, better the chance that they'll make one that is just right for you. I'm trying to paint this as positively as I can. And there's lots of paint positive, man. There's enough moments in that movie. Parademons theory stands true. There are some of us who it's just like, bitch, they showed me a live action parademon. I thought I would see one of those maybe as I passed from this realm of existence. As I died, that would flutter through my head like, oh, parademon, and then I'd fucking die. The fact that I got to see one and I looked over at my boy and he looked at me, my boy Blue, and he looked right at me and we said parademons. Like a couple of children, I was worth the money. And we paid a lot. We sat in those expensive seats where they bring food to your table, like $27 a ticket. He paid. He owed me. So in any event, I overpaid to see the movie and shit, and still I would pay double for that moment alone. So maybe the key is to see this movie with someone that you love DC with or something like that. I didn't see it the first time. I saw it, yeah. Muse was probably the stronger person to see it with because he went in fandom, and there were moments where I could look at him and be like, we are fans of this shit. We're happy it exists. So go see it. Don't listen to anybody who's like, don't see this, or don't look at reviews and shit, or read them, but it's your sworn duty as a comic book fan to see this movie, man. I ain't on the Warner Brothers payroll either, at least not for this. I was when I was directing Flash, but that was for the TV division. So this is me speaking from the heart, man. Yeah, it ain't the fucking movie that the trailers made it seem like. And I mean, well, then again, I'm wrong. The trailers made it seem exactly like what we saw. There was just nothing beyond that. I was like, what's the hidden secret? And the hidden secret is, that's pretty much it. But that's enough for a lot of people. Like, hey, Batman met Superman, then Wonder Woman showed up. That's fucking good enough for me. I can't wait. I'll be back for the next one. The intent was to launch the DC Extended Universe cinematically, and they did it. Look at the record that they shattered, man. That's great. So it exists, and I'm ultimately happy that it exists. There's enough good. My boy was good in it, dude. Like fucking Affleck. Come on, that was nuts. I was sitting there watching that, and I forgot at a certain point. Like, oh, Stu, you worked with that guy. He disappeared into the role. I was like, fuck, he's unhappy. Like Batman should be. So there it is. Those are my thoughts. If you don't agree with them, don't fucking like, oh, you fucking sold out on Batman. Bullshit. The show's called Fat Man Batman. I'm still fucking here. And I did like a lot of the movie. Some shit I didn't, man, but whatever. I ain't the be-all, end-all of shit. So in any event, if you liked it way more than me, fucking awesome. Keep that enthusiasm up. Maybe I'll join you on the next round. Believe me, by the fucking second viewing of this movie, I was like, yeah, all right, man, all right. So, it might have been expectation first viewing and then reality second viewing, who knows. But regardless, it's worth your time, man. There it is. That's my review of Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. Don't forget, me and Mark Bernardin doing Fat Man Batman live at the Fillmore in Detroit, man, for the Freak Fest on Thursday night. Go get tickets if you're anywhere in Michigan. Come see us. That's right, I said Michigan. Shy of that, man, come back next episode. We'll be talking about things that ain't Batman v. Well, actually, we'll probably be talking about this for a long time. This will require a bunch of unpacking, as they say. I'll need to unpack it with Mark. That's what we're going to do at that show. And we'll probably unpack it here as well as we get ready to see the DC universe expand ever further. You see that cutscene they put online? Go look at that cutscene, dude. Steppenwolf holding mother boxes. Like, I know there was a mother box in the Cyborg scene as well, but people are like, there was a Cyborg scene with mother boxes. I get it. But to see a representation of Steppenwolf holding those mother boxes, I'm not even a fucking Steppenwolf fan, and they had me salivating. That clip made me forgive a lot about that movie, I'll be honest with you. It totally worked on me, where I was like, you know, some of that movie wasn't, and they're like, hey, kid, psst, here's a clip of Steppenwolf. And I'm like, oh, God, that was the greatest movie ever made. I won Jason Mewes for it. So there it is, man. Tune in next time, same fat time, same fat channel, YouTube.com/Kevin Smith.